I'm here to talk about building online buzz Blitzkrieg style, and I think it's, there we are. And I want to start off by saying ideas that spread win. Let me repeat that. Ideas that spread win. Now, I want to make clear that there's absolutely nothing original or revolutionary about that idea. That concept has been with us as long as business and marketing and promotion and advertising have. It's a universal truth. And while that universal truth has been with us, the context in which ideas are spread and the methods by which ideas are spread have changed quite radically in the last few years. And I just want to establish this context right up front. I know most of you already know this, but I just want to sort of calibrate your minds for the remainder of my talk. I want to start by saying that in August of last year, the Harvard Business Review had a blog post called "Marketing is Dead." And if you read that post, and I'm going to give you a link to it in case you'd like to if you haven't read it, what that post says is that traditional methods of marketing, advertising, and promotion are absolutely on decline. And in concert with that, we have these statistics that have become pretty much ubiquitous, and I keep running into these everywhere, so I just want to, again, share them with you because it's kind of critical to set up the rest of my talk. Only 14% of consumers trust ads. Only 18% of TV campaigns, traditional TV campaigns, generate a positive ROI. And on the other hand, 90% of people trust peer recommendations. Well, where do people get peer recommendations? They get them from social media. So in concert with the decline of traditional marketing, promotion, and advertising, we've had the rise of social media, of course. And you'll recognize the Twitter and Facebook icons there. We all know that Facebook now has 1 billion users, and Twitter now has half that at about 500 million. Along with that, we've had the rise of something called the online influencer. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Seth Godin and Malcolm Gladwell. Both have written extensively on this topic of the online influencer. They each have different terminology for it: maven, connector, sneezer, but the idea is the same, and the idea is simply that there's this new class of people that are driving masses of people online simply because we've got this new context of social media. So with that said, with that context hopefully having been established, that we've got the decline of traditional, the rise of social and online influencer, what am I talking about here? What does it mean to create online buzz Blitzkrieg style? And I've come up with 3 sort of little descriptors. One is to engage a large population in real time, also to obtain market intelligence and market feedback on almost any topic at any time, and then to actively spread ideas, because as I said at the start, ideas that spread win. The Blitzkrieg part comes in because we can do these things in real time on a large scale and quickly in sort of a Blitzkrieg-like fashion. So how do you do this? The most basic template that I've come up with to describe this, and I want to make clear that there's all kinds of other stuff you can do. This is sort of a buzz building 101 sort of a thing, is to use the same social media platforms I've already referenced, Twitter and Facebook. We use Twitter because statistics show that Twitter users are the most dynamic, engagement-oriented, and here's the real key, sharing-oriented of all social media users. They're the ones that can help us spread our ideas. We use Facebook because the technological architecture of Facebook lends itself perfectly to starting and threading and curating and maintaining for subsequent discovery conversations in which we can talk about our ideas and get people to engage around them. So we spread the idea on Twitter and we have the conversation in Facebook. So when I was up here about 90 minutes ago, I said we were going to try to create a real-life, in real-time example of building online buzz, and I chose Rob Hahn's 3 Black Swans because it's controversial and I figured people might rally around it and have a good conversation. So what I did was exactly what I just described on the previous slide. I went into this Facebook group that I created called Raise the Bar in Real Estate. There's about 3,000 people in that group. It's very active. It's very dynamic. There's a number of influential people. We have CEOs from the industry, social media personalities, etc. And so I posted this comment about Rob, and I'll show it to you in a second. The next thing I did was I went on Twitter, where I have a pretty decent following, and I tweeted about the conversation that I had just started on Facebook. So again, I just did the exact same thing I described of the combination of Twitter and Facebook. So how did we do? Was I able, or were we able to create buzz around that topic? And how we measure that really is in terms of comments, the number of comments we get on Facebook and the number of tweets that we might get on Twitter. So I'm now going to hopefully navigate over to the live web. Please let this work. Thank you. It worked. And we see, the first thing I want to point out, and I don't know how well you can see what I'm doing here. You see where my cursor is? 428. I wanted to show you that we've had 428 tweets written about this conference since mid-morning. So I don't recall exactly what time that was, but this event has created a significant amount of online buzz on its own, and the promotion for the event has really been, I think, fantastic. And we can scroll through here and find the original tweet I wrote, although I don't know if I want to take time to do that, but trust me that I wrote a tweet that said, hey, check this conversation out about Rob Hahn's three black swans. So now if we navigate over to the Facebook group that I described, called Raise the Bar in Real Estate, you can see that we created 118 comments just on that thread in the last 90 minutes. And again, I know for many of you who don't spend much time in this will be lost on you. However, I can tell you, and others can confirm, that that is a very, very high level of engagement that quickly. And I also want to point out that we're dealing on East Coast time. It's in the evening, so we actually have less participation than we might have otherwise had. But I want to go through and just give you real quickly an indication as to, the people, the geographic dispersion. We have people from North Carolina, from San Diego, from Seattle, from Virginia, from Alabama, from Houston, from Laguna Niguel, California. All these people I know who are all weighing in, and everything you're looking at as I scroll here, these are all comments that have been written in response to the post that I put up 90 minutes ago. It's a lot of buzz. So I think we accomplished the objective, at least I hope we did. And now let's go back over to Keynote, and I'll finish the rest of what I have to say here. If I can get it to play. So we accomplished the objective, and so now I want to say, what's in this for you? What do you want to get out of this? And for me, the things that you can leverage out of this are to use this machine that I've described to you as a focus group, also to create influence, and then also to build and shape your brand. The reason I have a Maker's Mark bottle on there is because not long ago, Maker's Mark made a decision to reduce the alcoholic composition of their bourbon. How many of you heard about that? Quite a few. Okay. So they posted this on Facebook, and there was such an incredibly negative reaction to this that Maker's Mark reversed its decision and did not reduce the alcoholic composition of its bourbon, which made me very happy personally. But anyway, who knows how much money they saved in revenue? I would say they saved millions, and they also created an incredible amount of promotion for themselves. Whether they were gaming us or not, it worked. Also, in terms of influence, engaging specific targets and connecting with them, I would not be standing on this stage if not for the fact that 4 years ago, I made a decision that I was going to connect with Stefan Swanepoel because I knew him to be a giant in the industry. I reached out to him. We started engaging. I don't want to waste your time with the rest of the story, but here I am, and I just co-authored a book with him. So that happened because I was able to connect with this guy and build some level of influence with him. And if I can do that, you can do this on any level. And then finally, branding is sort of inherent in everything I've said, that we can shape ideas and have conversations around our business objectives by just using this sort of a technique. Takeaways. This stuff is simple and it's free. It's as easy as I've described it. It's a matter of just posting and engaging conversations in these social media tools that are completely free to us. The only real cost is labor. And the icon I'm using for labor is Jay Thompson. Jay, where are you? I know, there you are, Jay. So I use Jay because it's my opinion that every company needs a Jay Thompson. And I chose Jay only because his engagement by Zillow as their social media guy was a pretty newsworthy event in the industry, and I thought it was a brilliant move. He's really impacted my perception of Zillow. And so I think every major company, every company for that matter, should have a social media sort of player on their roster. Also, this is very dynamic and interactive. As I've tried to show you, we've had all that interaction, 118 comments in 90 minutes on Facebook, and it was that easy to do. The reach of these social platforms, again, we have 1 billion on Facebook, 500 million on Twitter. That's huge, in my opinion. And then what I started off by saying, the big trends that we have in terms of traditional marketing, advertising, and promotion being on the decline, and social media and online influencers being clearly on the rise. So I'm just about out of time, and I've gone way too fast. I wish I had a lot more time to go into more detail, but that's the gist of the TED Talk. But I've created this link that you can go to, which is budurl.com/T3SummitTweets, and you can see that I provided a lot more detail regarding just about everything I've talked about. I've also included a link to this summary I created of all of the I call them the greatest hits of the Raise the Bar Facebook group, where we have conversations that individually have had up to 600 comments. And we have hundreds of conversations that are in excess of 100 comments. So I would invite you to check it out, because what you can learn about the industry, because this is all industry people, in terms of what people think on issues, who thinks what, who likes who. It's amazing what you can learn, the intelligence that you can garner from just doing that. So I would invite you to check this out, and I hope that I've moved you maybe 1 degree in the direction of wanting to do more in terms of utilizing these tools. And thank you so much for your time.